Alright, Ghoti duelists, welcome back to another video. As many of you know, I am not as much a Yu-Gi-Oh player as I am a Ghoti player, so the game gets a little slow for me sometimes, but we do have an upcoming release which is very big news for us as Ghoti players. That being the release of First Penguin, coming up for me on the 6th of Feb. I don't actually know what the set name is, you're going to have to Google that one yourself. But we've got First Penguin coming out. It's essentially a 1.5 card starter for us, something that we kind of had in the form of Leafish before, but now we've got an actual real one that can do a full combo just by itself, getting us, a fairly medium Ghoti end board. Things obviously get more interesting as you add other cards to it in your starting hand. But I'm going to show you some of those combos, starting with just the basic ones, and then we'll also add in some cards. I'll show some Nib-proof ones, and then I'll go through a bit of a deck list, as in an engine list, so that you guys can have a jumping off point to do some testing yourself. Obviously, this hasn't been tested, no locals, which are the only thing that I go to test decks. So no testing done yet, so feel free to take the deck list with a pinch of salt and see how you go. Alright duelists, we'll start with our first 1.5 card combo. Gengar here is going to be First Penguin for us, so because we control no face-up monsters, First Penguin's going to special summon itself to the field. Then on summon, we'll use its discard effect to get our search, so we're going to reveal either Porpoise or Ariampos to search Abyss Shark. Special Abyss Shark, add Leafish, I'm going to normal Leafish, which sends Shift to the graveyard. From this point, because First Penguin's a tuner, we're going to be Synchro Summoning Porpoise, which then revives Shift from the graveyard. We'll use Leafish and Shift to Synchro Summon into Ariampos, which is then going to banish Moonlight from the deck. Moonlight on banish is going to banish a fish from our grave to special summon itself. It's important that you don't banish Shift, so we'll banish Leafish in order to special summon it. On summon, we're going to search Aspiskal, banish Aspiskal, and then special Aspiskal. Just going to rearrange for room here. From this point, we've now got some extra materials on board, and we can special Marincess Coral Anemone, who's then going to revive Shift to the field. Move us in frame here. Using Shift and Ariampos, we can make ourselves a Dragite for our end board, and then of course we've got a fish on the field. Shift is going to be able to banish herself to increase the attack, ready to come back next turn. I did forget to mention that when we synchro summon our Dragite, because we used Ariampos, we can target itself to banish, which will add us Snopios to the hand for follow-up. Alright, on our opponent's turn, we're going to get Shift coming back. Alright, so our interactions are Shift, Synchro Summoning with White Aura Porpoise into either our Azcan or our Whale. We also have a Spell Trap Negate in the form of Dragite, and also we have Snopios in hand, and we have Moonlight and another fish in grave, so that, let's say our field gets Dark Ruled no more, Snopios can banish these ones. In order to special summon himself, Moonlight can banish Abyss to summon, get a search and banish of Zep. Sorry, I misplayed there. Instead of banishing Abyss, we need to clear room. This is if we got Dark Ruled no more. So we'd banish, say, Shift, for example, in order to add Zep, which I haven't prepared. Let's get it. In order to add Zep, banish Zep, summon Zep, and then you can make your Deep Beyond from there. So that's in the case that we get Dark Ruled. So 3 points of interaction from our one card. Alright, I mentioned having a Nib-proof combo. It's nice pure Ghoti stuff. Only a 2 interaction combo of just Ghoti, but if you feel like playing around Nib, which as usual I don't do, I just go full beans as if Nib doesn't exist, this is your combo. So we're going to special summon our First Penguin, using its effect to discard, reveal Ariampos or Porpoise, and search Abyss Shark. We're going to special Abyss Shark, add Leafish. Leafish is going to normal, which will then send Shift to the graveyard, or Paces, it actually doesn't matter in this case. We'll do our Synchro Summon of first Penguin and Abyss Shark into Ariampos. Ariampos is going to banish Snopios, which will then banish Shift and add Snopios to the hand. On our opponent's turn, Shift will come back. Our first point of interaction being using Shift and Ariampos to make either Azcan or White Aura Whale. When you do that Synchro Summon, remember to chain block the search. Ariampos is going to target Shift or itself, usually safer to do itself, to banish and add Zep. So from this point, we've got one of these two level 8s on the field, and we've disrupted our opponent with one of them. Then the next time you want to do, when you want to do your Deep Beyond board wipe, we're going to banish these two to summon Snopios. Zep comes back, and then we'll go into our Deep Beyond using these two here. And then Deep Beyond's going to banish all cards on the field. So that's our Nib-proof, only 2 interaction combo, but we actually have one now, which is very nice. Alright, in the spirit of a bit of fun, I'm going to show us a fairly greedy combo with our 1.5 card starter. This will lead to a 4 interaction end board, but you're a little more locked into the kind of interaction you have to do with your opponent, and also are a little more fragile to the likes of Nib and board breakers compared to our previous combos. So we'll summon first Penguin, because we control no face-up monsters, do our discard and our reveal in order to search Abyss Shark. Abyss Shark summons, adds Leafish. Leafish is going to normal, which sends Shift from deck to grave. From here, we're going to use, pardon me, we're going to use first Penguin and Abyss Shark to special summon Ariampos, which is then going to banish Moonlight from the deck. Moonlight's going to banish not Shift in order to special summon itself, and then search and banish Paces. From here, we'll use our 2 extra materials here to extend into Marincest Coral Anatomy, which is going to revive Shift from the graveyard. Using these, we're going to Synchro Summon into Dragite, and then use the search when Ariampos is used to add Snopios to the hand. Now from here, you'll notice we don't have any fish on the field. In order to banish Shift for next turn, we're going to use Snopios to banish Leafish and Shift for the next turn. It's important, so pay attention. For this combo, and this is why it's especially greedy, our Snopios here is not going to use its effect to be banished instead of leaving the field normally. It has to go to the graveyard, and you're going to have to use it to summon specifically Azcan. So on our opponent's turn, we've got Shift and Paces coming back. Alright, and our piece of interaction being our Spell Trap Negate from Dragite, we have an Azcan and a Deep Beyond summon on the field, and then we'll be able to do a follow-up Deep Beyond later. Okay, you shouldn't worry too much about only being able to use Azcan, because we've got 2 Deep Beyonds in the work here. So we're going to be Synchro Summoning first and Azcan. Recalling, of course, Snopios didn't target itself to be banished instead of leaving the field. So now that Azcan's on the field, it can banish itself and the opponent's card to banish itself. It'll then banish either Snopios or Moonlight. I would probably tend to do Moonlight. I've misspoken, but you guys will find that out as the combo goes along. This one's going to banish Moonlight. The reason I do that is because I want to chain block Moonlight Search, so it's going to banish Snopios. Chain 1 Search, Chain 2 Snopios is going to banish here, and then add to hand. And then, of course, our search goes off, and we'll get Zep and banish Moonlight. Alright, from here, our third point of interaction is our Deep Beyond, using these ones, so that'll wipe all things on the field. Now, the reason I misspoke earlier is that our Azcan has already banished, so we won't be able to get a second Deep Beyond here, but our last point of interaction is going to be a White Aura Whale. So that is using Snopios to banish Zep and Shift, to summon itself. Zep's going to come back, and then you probably also won't want to banish your Snopios again. Synchro those two off for White Aura Whale. Alright, back on your turn, assuming the White Aura Whale still survives, you'll get Deep Beyond, Shift, and Pacey's coming back. As I said, super fragile combo, very greedy, but some of you will play that way, so I thought I'd show you anyway, just in the spirit of having some fun Yu-Gi-Oh combos to try out. In general, the best combo you want to use is probably the first one that was shown in this video. It provides the most amount of interaction for your 1.5 cards, and also plays around board breakers and field interaction a little bit better than some of the later combos. I will say though, your end board goes up quite a bit if the second card that you have to discard is something Ghoti related. That being Shift, Pacey's, Keef, pardon me, Shift, Pacey's, Keef, even Moonlight is fairly good, Snopios is a good one, Spiscool is also good to have. So if any of those cards are your second card here, you can pretty much discard that in your combo, and then off any of your Moonlight banishes, just banish that card from your graveyard to get the extra point of interaction. If it's a Leafish, if you've got a Leafish in hand, you might want to end up discarding another card, but then you can use your Abyss Shark to search. Let's go through our deck a little bit. You can use Abyss Shark to search for our Spiscool, so that later on you'll have the Spiscool in hand. You might be able to search something like Keef from Moonlight and then banish a Spiscool, and it'll come back like that, and you've got the extra Keef on your end board. So that's a little tidbit for sort of some of the things that you can do if that second card in hand is a little bit more favorable than just a random card for a discard. Alrighty, let's talk deck lists. Up in the top left, I have our first penguin and its 3 searches. I honestly can't remember the searcher's name, something Penguin Garden or Royal Garden, something like that. But we've got a 6 1-card starters, which compared to a lot of meta decks is not the most favorable position to be in. But you have some weaker 1-card starters like Leafish and the like to go in from there. Obviously, Ghoti is a deck that shines with its 2-card combos. So I've got our starters up here. We've got our Ghoti core here. Obviously, we still have the same problem as always. All of our Ghoti cards are bricks, so we don't actually want to have a whole lot of them. I do have 2 Keef because this particular build of the deck does like getting some more bodies on the board and making the most of what you've got. So if you've already got a fish on the field, you can add Keef onto your end board to extend from there. We're running 3 Leafish and 3 Abyss Shark because we want to get the most out of that part of our engine. And I am running 2 Moonlight just because you desperately don't want to have Moonlight in your hand in a position where you can summon Arion Pos and then you've got a suboptimal banish from the deck. We really want Moonlight to be in the deck when we make our Arion Pos. Yeah, as usual, there's no consensus on Ghoti ratios. I think there aren't enough of us out there yet to have completely solved this. So feel free to play around with whatever ratios of Ghoti cards make you feel the most comfortable. And of course, we've got our honorary engine cards, Crossout and Gold Sark. Now, I'm going pretty light on the fish and water portion of the engine, and that's because I do like to max out on my non-engine. We've got 16 non-engine. I am highlighting Call by the Grave and Triple Tactics Talent as kind of, you know, they're non-engine, but they're a little bit consistency helpers, which leaves us sort of 14 cards of your choice of hand traps. I can, as always, not give you any meta-analysis on what the correct hand traps are to use. You're going to have to figure that out yourself, and it's often dependent on your locals and what kind of decks you often see. But the idea behind all of the decks that we're playing, you know, even though we're a rogue deck, it's good to try and maximize the amount of non-engine that we can squeeze in. Now that we have our one card starter, it helps us a great deal with playing quite a bit of non-engine. But even this, compared to, you know, some of our meta friends that we've seen come along, compared to their 19 to 21 hand traps, we unfortunately don't hold the cake. But such is the life of a rogue player. But feel free to use this deck list as a jumping off point. Sorry, I will also spread out my extra deck, just being my link cards of you know, our two auto include water link cards for Ghoti, as well as an SP Little Knight. We've got Stealth Kraken. I dropped Typhon in order to add our Porpoise to help with some of those combos. We've got the usual Ghoti synchros, so that means 2 Deep Beyond, a White or a Whale, and Azcan. Some people like 2 Azcan, 1 Deep Beyond. It's up to you. We've got 2 Ariampos, a Doxic Boxfish, Ice Jade Gamia, a Cheng Ying, and a Dragite. And that pretty much rounds out our deck list. So if you've got any questions, feel free to chuck them in the comments, and I'll see you at the next one.